And Facebook has launched Express Wi-Fi in Kenya in partnership with a local company called Surf. I spoke to Surf CEO Mark Summer. Take a look. Thank you for your time. Talk to us about this partnership between Surf and Facebook. What is it bringing on board when it comes to delivering affordable internet to Kenyans?
Absolutely. What we really see in the options for consumers to access the internet, specifically sort of in the majority of the consumer market, is very limited. And Facebook's belief, as well as our belief, is really around providing more options to consumers and reducing cost wherever we can. So consumers can make the best choices how to get online and where to get online, depending on their needs and where they spend their time during the day. And so this partnership, I think, is really coming together of two companies who believe very much in the same, that in an emerging market like Kenya, we need to have more options for consumers and find ways to reduce costs through new business models, new technologies. And ultimately, that's what we're doing.
Now, Wi-Fi is a buzzword for internet in Africa today, especially. There's a lot of growth in that market. But what's your portfolio like in Kenya?
So what we're focusing mainly on is Wi-Fi hotspots, because we think that's a great way to utilize existing resources like entrepreneurs who are in markets and in restaurants and places where people spend their time, and giving them a new income stream, so providing Wi-Fi to their already existing consumer base. And at the same time, it's a great way for consumers to get online at a much lower cost. I think the reason, because it's why it's a buzzword right now, is it's an alternative way to get online, which has the promise to reduce costs. And I really see it as a way to enhance the options for consumers, not necessarily to take customers from one place to another, but really to get consumers more options to be online, ultimately grow the number of users and the time they can spend online.
So you're in a market that is also quite, we are seeing the telcos get in there with bundles and all that, and quite a very large or wide connectivity. How are you working around it, especially in the costing, because that's where Kenyans are looking at there. We are very price sensitive as a community.
I think everyone is very price sensitive.
Yeah.
I think it's everywhere people are trying to find the best deal they can. That's natural, and we like that. So for that reason, we want to see, I think, different options in the market. Like you might use your Wi-Fi at home or in the office. When you're walking around, you might use a mobile connection. So all these things make sense for the user. And what we're doing with this rollout and this partnership is providing the consumer another option to get online. And because of the technologies and the business model we're using, we think that can be very cost effective ultimately. And again, it's really here, I think, the point to give the consumers many options and stretch their shilling to go as far as possible. And ultimately that grows the market, I think, and that provides more opportunities for the consumer to see how they can benefit from using the internet by having a little less pressure on the cost side.
Right now in Kenya, there's a big conversation, and has been there for a number of years now, about infrastructure sharing. How is this working for you? Because if other people have invested in the connectivity, I believe you are not doing the same thing. You are now looking at getting to the consumer.
I agree, and I think infrastructure sharing makes a lot of sense. If someone has already set up a tower or dug a cable, why do we need to do this right next to it again if we can leverage that investment and benefit that provider who has done that? So our partnership here in Kenya is as well with a company called Internet Solutions, formerly known as Access Kenya, which is a local service provider who has done significant investments in fiber and other types of infrastructure. And through this partnership, we leverage that existing infrastructure and don't need to redo the same work which has already been done. And I think that's something which is really key to reduce costs ultimately, and to cover a whole lot more people by not having 5 cables or 5 towers standing right next to each other, but leveraging that investment to get to 5 more communities rather than just to 1.
Now, you've connected over 100 areas, towns, mostly around Nairobi. But where are you going with this Surf the next 3, 4, 5 years?
So what we have right now is over 100 hotspot locations. Absolutely right. They're mostly just around Nairobi. last week and this week we're starting to roll out in Mombasa and Kisumu, our next two regions. And from there on we anticipate to grow significantly further across the country. We really want to reach the consumer wherever they are, not just in a few spots, and give them the same quality of service, the same speed, and the same pricing.